If you don't get on board with artificial intelligence, then you are going to get left behind. And that's why in this video, I'll share what you can do and what I'm doing to make sure that we still have jobs in the years to come. Since recording my last video about artificial intelligence tools for instructional designers, a lot has changed. There are new AI apps popping up every single day. ChatGPT has exploded in popularity and a lot of instructional designers are already using it. The Adobe suite is incorporating AI into its tools, like Photoshop has generative AI now, for example. And it seems like every month there's new groundbreaking research about some AI advancements, and pretty soon that's going to be coming down the pipeline to commercial tools. So it's changing, it's advancing rapidly, and it's pretty clear at this point that there's no turning back because it's already saving instructional designers and companies overall a lot of time and a lot of money. So we're going in that direction, and it is going to impact the labor market. It already is impacting the labor market because with such productivity gains and changes like this, how could it not? So that's why in this video, I want to share my perspective on how this will impact things in the short term and the long term for instructional designers. And I'll also share some actionable suggestions about what you can do to make sure that your job is safe, so to speak. All right, so let's start with the short-term impacts. So I think it's pretty safe to say that instructional designers will be 5 to 10 times more productive with generative AI tools. Now, if you think about a lot of the rote tasks that you complete as an instructional designer, like writing storyboards or, reading large documents and turning that into learning objectives, or developing e-learning, or even developing assets for e-learning, all of those things you'll be able to do in a fraction of the time with generative AI tools. It can help, especially storyboarding. I imagine that's what's taking up a lot of your time. That is going to be greatly reduced. Actually generating the content you need for the learning experiences that you're creating, or coming up with ideas for activities, AI is going to help with that. And because of that, instructional designers who use AI tools will be positioned to make a massive impact in much less time. I mean, think about it. I know some corporate instructional designers who need to create like a course per week. With these AI tools, you're going to be able to do a course in a day. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. But if you're essentially the instructional designer who's being valued for your expertise, and you're kind of guiding this tool through creating the learning experiences, your productivity is going to be much different than it is now. So that's changing things, and it's going to impact the job market. So yeah, teams and companies will start to adapt, and this is already happening. So the instructional designer's workload may start looking different as companies are getting on board with AI and as these tools are becoming more popular. So instead of doing so much of the hands-on work, like the writing and the developing, you might spend more time interviewing people, managing projects, or strategizing. So you might be doing more things that the AI tool can't do, like talking to people essentially, and maybe making some of those strategic decisions that you might not want to rely on a robot making. But again, these robots, these artificial intelligence models, if you feed them a lot of data, they might be able to make some pretty good strategic decisions. We're just going to have to see how that develops. So also, like I mentioned earlier, your expertise becomes more valuable. If you're working with a tool that, say you feed it a ton of information, maybe transcripts from your interviews with subject matter experts, maybe PDF documents, maybe prior training PowerPoints, you can feed it all of that. And then maybe it will generate some learning objectives when you tell it what your goal is for the learning experience. You're going to need to use your expertise to evaluate those learning objectives and maybe fine tune them to make sure that it's something that you would put your own expertise behind. And then you can imagine from there, maybe it generates like a storyboard that it thinks is production ready. You will want to use your expertise to evaluate that storyboard and make changes. So you're still going to need an instructional designer who knows what they're talking about and who has that expertise, because if you just give it all over to the computer, you might not get very high quality output, and you don't want to just rely on the computer alone, especially with how things are looking now. You still need a person who knows what they're talking about, knows what they're doing, before just relying on AI completely. So I think what you can do in this like short term, where companies and teams are starting to use these AI tools, is to make sure that you're on top of the AI tools. Like you need to start incorporating AI into your process and leveraging it. And I know this can be difficult if you're working at a corporation where they have a lot of restrictions on what data you can feed into AI. But there are some huge companies and consulting firms who are incorporating it, and they're setting guidelines around, here's what you can and can't use ChatGPT for example. So keep an eye on that, use these AI tools where you can, and start finding ways where they can save you time and make you more productive, because there is going to be a period where if you do figure out these AI tools and you do find these productivity improvements, especially if you're a freelancer or a consultant, you're going to be able to get a lot more work done in a lot less time. And there is a lot of opportunity for you there as a designer or as a creative professional. All right, so moving into the long-term impacts, and this is where it's a bit hazier. I think, we don't really know exactly what this will look like, so I'll give that disclaimer. This might be 10 years from now, might be 30 years from now. Maybe it'll be sooner, but with how things move, I would be surprised if it was much sooner than that. But this is already starting. AI will get built into the systems we use for work, and we will kind of have these AI guides for the work tasks that we're completing. And AI may give people what they need when they need it. So if you're about to get on an important call, your AI assistant, so to speak, may give you the information or the insights you need based off of all the data it has available to it to help you on that call. If you are working on a floor somewhere, if you're looking at a product or looking at a machine, you may get that information that you need to fix that machine or sell that product like on demand, so to speak. Again, maybe it will come in glasses. I mean, you see Apple is committed to the mixed reality development now, and right now it's a big clunky headset, but eventually, we can imagine it being glasses like this, maybe even 10 years or so, maybe sooner. Or maybe, Elon Musk working on Neuralink, maybe it's going to be a chip in the brain like in these sci-fi novels. So I think we can all say we're in a world where that doesn't seem impossible, and it seems like that's a likely progression of where the technology is moving. And if we're using that when we work and it's powered by artificial intelligence, we're going to kind of have this AI powered brain that's like constant performance support for what it is that we're doing. And when we do get to that future, the role of instructional designers is going to look very different. I mean, that's what I ask myself. If we're in a future where we get, if I'm talking to someone in a different language and I can have what they're saying translated to me in real time in glasses or a brain chip, do I need an instructional designer designing me a learning experience on how to speak another language, or any other job task, for example? And I'm sure there are still some skills that we would want to build. And maybe instructional designers will focus on that, building those learning experiences for us to build those skills that we still need. Or maybe instructional designers will be focusing more on training the models or feeding the right data to these artificial intelligence machines to help make them more effective for the audiences we serve. So the role may look very different. It may not be called an instructional designer. It just may be a progression that a lot of instructional designers move into that makes a lot more sense for us. But again, it's really hard to imagine what this can look like, because AI does have the power to change so much about how we work today. I mean, if you think about people in the 1950s or 1970s, even imagining what corporate work looks like today, it's going to be very different. And it's not just restricted to corporate work. Like, you can imagine once these AI can be put into physical, like robots or machines as well. So just, physical labor isn't necessarily protected either. Maybe it adds a little bit longer, but this is going to potentially impact the entire workforce. I think the most recent report I saw from Goldman Sachs said they expect like 300 million jobs to get displaced. But of course, that comes with the flip side of the caveat of a lot of new jobs getting created. So we're going to have to wait and see how exactly this impacts instructional designers. And again, I've said it. I'm sure you can imagine it's hard to predict what this may look like. If you have some ideas, feel free to drop them in the comments. I think, we're all trying to figure this out and think about what the future might look like. But here's what I'm doing. To like protect myself, so to speak, to future-proof myself, to future-proof my business and make sure that we're still relevant. So As you can imagine, diving headfirst into AI, I don't think that it's very worthwhile to resist AI at this point. I think it's pretty clear this is the direction that the world is moving. And it's pretty clear that this is going to help people become much, much more productive. And because of that, it doesn't make a lot of sense to resist that, I don't think. So yeah, we're incorporating it into our courses on the back end. Like we're finding ways to develop like the ID project lab, for example, more effectively with this. We're creating some AI generated characters and stimulating some discussions between subject matter expert and project manager and all of that. Basically, we have these actors. They're completely AI generated, and we can quickly generate finished high quality video with that and with some of those tools. And I think we'll do a full video on how we're doing that. We're also using it to generate scripts, to revise scripts, to change the tones of things to make it more effective. We're doing a lot of stuff with AI. The whole team is, I don't want to get into that yet, but the whole team is getting on board with AI right now, and we are going to be working on videos showing you how to use AI tools for different common instructional design tasks. So these should be coming out every 1 or 2 weeks. We have a very long playlist planned. But yeah, more AI content is coming, so definitely subscribe if you want to make sure that you're kind of on the forefront of leveraging AI for common instructional design tasks and finding ways to be more productive with artificial intelligence. We're also gauging interest for an artificial intelligence tool for instructional designers. All right, I've used pretty much all the tools out there for IDs right now, and the perfect tool isn't really there yet. So I'm really excited about potentially building out that tool and training these artificial intelligence models on instructional design subject matter and instructional design expertise to make them much more effective at generating learning objectives and writing storyboards and maybe even developing finished e-learning products. So if you're interested in that, we're going to be doing some surveying of the community. We're going to be doing some focus groups and potentially building this AI tool for you alongside you and your feedback. So we don't have a timeline for this yet. If we want to do it right, it might take quite a bit of time, but we are going to be working with the community to build this tool. So if you want to sign up for the wait list and potentially give your input into this tool, you can go to devlin.ai, just type that into your search bar, and yeah, sign up for the waitlist, and we'll communicate updates there as we have them and send out the surveys and focus group invites and all of that good stuff. But again, I can imagine this tool that is going to 10x the productivity of IDs. I would like to help build that tool because yeah, I think it is going to help IDs make a much larger impact once we do have a tool like that. And then again, I already mentioned this, but we are creating that extended YouTube playlist. We're going to get into how to use like the AI Photoshop features, how to generate graphics with AI, how to use ChatGPT for instructional design most effectively. And we're going to even show a lot of behind the scenes stuff on how my team and I are using AI to develop our courses. So we have a lot of good stuff to get into. It's an exciting time, not just in the world with the AI developments, but also in the instructional design space and here on the channel, because we're diving deep into it and we are excited to have you along this journey with us. So again, feel free to subscribe for those new videos coming and sign up for that tool waitlist at devlin.ai. So thanks for making it to the end, and we will see you in the next video.